Hey, friends and listeners. Welcome back to Truth, Lies, and Alibis, your true crime podcast that looks at things from the distinct perspective of two 911 dispatchers.
Episode 7.
12 Pillars of BS.
On today's episode, I tell Jess about the beginnings of Nxivm, a cult formed by the creepy Keith Raniere.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Jess.
Hello.
I feel like these last few episodes, I've really been trying to be like, hello, how are you? Like,
hello. How
ease
are you
into
doing
it
today?
Like we didn't just talk for like 30 minutes. Okay. I know we've talked about cults a little, but never covered one on the podcast. So I thought I'd cover a cult today. And it's going to be a two-parter. Jess is really excited. She's really into that cult life, I hear.
Hashtag.
So my question for you today is, what would it take to get you to join a cult? Or do you think you'd ever join a cult?
This is a very difficult question. What are the stipulations? What do I have to do? What does it require
It can be
me to do?
like, what kind of cult would you be interested in joining?
I mean, a few fandoms I've been in have been called cults before, but I feel like that's the closest I get is like fandom stuff. I don't know if I'd ever actually volunteered to be in a cult.
I don't think you'd know you were in it until you were in it.
That's true. What is the definition of what is it?
Funny you should ask, because I have the definition right here. Let me just pull it up.
Wonderful.
According to Merriam-Webster.com, a cult is a religion regarded as unorthodox or spurious. Is that how you say that? Great devotion to a person, idea, object, movement, or work, such as a film or a book. That could be me. I'm in a Harry Potter cult. A system of religious beliefs and ritual, a formal religious veneration, a system for the cure of disease based on dogma set forth by its I can't even say this word. Promulgator? I don't know what that means. Cult, which shares an origin with culture and cultivate, comes from the Latin cultus, and now with meanings ranging from tilling, cultivation, to training or education, to adoration. In English, cult has evolved a number of meanings following a fairly logical path. The earliest known uses of the word, recorded in the 17th century, broadly denoted worship. From here, cult came to refer to a specific branch of a religion or the rites and practices of the branch, as in the cult of Dionysus. Thank you. I was like, I don't know how to say that either.
A lot of it, so there's the one aspect where it's based off of religion, and then the second aspect is great devotion to a person, idea, object, movement, or work.
Yes.
Which I feel like that's probably why fandoms get, poked fun at and called cults. But
yeah, but they're not hurting anybody.
It comes down to the stipulations of like what it requires me to do. I'm in fandoms because it doesn't require me to do anything. I can go about my daily life and also enjoy this thing.
You have to sacrifice your firstborn son. That's what you have to do in order. I'm just kidding.
What happens if you don't have one?
Then I guess you're good to go.
All right, sign me up.
I will say I listen to all this stuff and I watch all this stuff, and of course cults come up like all the time, and I'm like, yeah, I'd never join a cult. That would never happen to me. I'm pretty sure I was in a cult back in the day, a religious cult. I was a teenager, so I didn't know, but looking back now, I'm like, oh no, that was a cult. That was real weird. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I do in fact know what you mean.
However, I would join a cult where all you do is like lay around and read and like eat tacos or something. Like that sounds like a cult I could get behind.
We should just start our own. Novels and tacos.
Yes, I'm down for that cult. Let's do it. Oh, and we can listen to BTS music while we're reading, because that'll help Jess.
Well, if you join a cult, that's not the only thing that you're like, if you join a novel and tacos cult, is there a rule that you cannot do anything other than read books and eat tacos?
Yes. We would be firmly against exercising, and I'm just kidding.
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm
That's
just
not what
kidding.
I mean.
I know.
I mean, if you join a novel and taco cult. Can you only eat tacos for the rest of your life? Does that mean that no other food is worthy of your consumption?
No, you just worship tacos, so.
So does that also mean that no other free time activity can be
you can only read
reading books
all the time, constantly?
I might not want to be in this cult anymore.
No, because we need time for napping and other things.
So it's just join this cult, and the byline is it's regular life except we really like books and tacos.
Yes.
Okay. I'm back in.
Okay. I'm glad we cleared that up.
Let us know if you're interested in joining our cult.
So I found this article titled 3 Reasons People Join Cults, according to a cult recovery therapist. And here are the reasons they listed.
I bet that's an interesting job.
It would be really interesting.
Wow, yeah.
It would also probably be really traumatic. So, 1, to better themselves either professionally or personally. 2, they want a greater sense of communication, so they're longing for a sense of belonging or human connection because they have poor self-esteem. 3, they are in a state of extreme vulnerability, so poor self-esteem or just in a vulnerable place to begin with. So, Jess, I'm sure a lot of people have heard about the Nxivm Cult, but have you heard about Nxivm?
Not going to recognize it by the name. I won't promise you I've never heard of it. Maybe details will trigger a memory, but I don't know the name per se.
Okay, well then, let me tell you all about it. Let me start this off by saying I am just going to give you like an overview because this cult has so much to it that if I wanted to do it justice, we'd have to do like just a whole podcast dedicated to Nxivm. And I'm sorry, like it's very interesting, but I think I would lose interest a little bit. I'd be like, okay, cool. Like, you know what I mean? Let's move on. So, from 1998 to 2018, the self-help MLM, or multi-level marketing company, named Nxivm, operated in the US, Canada, and Mexico. The cult was founded by Keith Raniere and Nancy Sulzman. The cult would make headlines in 2017 when accusations about it being a sex cult were made. The program was built on 12 pillars, and I have the pillars. I'm going to read them to you.
Okay.
12-point mission statement by Keith Raniere. Success is an internal state of clear, honest knowledge of what I am, my value in the world, and my responsibility for the way I react to all things. There are no ultimate victims, therefore I will not choose to be a victim. I am committed to be successful. I understand each of us must raise ourselves and thereby raise all others as all others raise us. This is interdependence. Your face.
You've just already said a lot of words, but...
Success.
I'm gonna try and focus.
Success in my own right is my earned success. True success cannot be stolen, copied, or received by happenstance. I will not masquerade as successful by these methods or any other. I will earn my success. Tribute is a form of payment and honor. It is giving credit where credit is due. I will use tribute to uphold others beyond my petty likes and dislikes. As a result, I will define myself and my true contribution to humankind. Successful people do not steal, and they have no desire or need to steal. I will not steal anything. I will always earn what I need and desire. Copying without permission or tribute is not the highest form of flattery. It is theft. Theft is also taking or receiving something without fully earning it. It is always at the expense, no matter how small, of others. Inner honesty and integrity are the highest human values and the foundation of the human psychology. All other values arise from them. I will never trade my integrity or inner honesty for any other value. It is never worth it. The methods and information I learn in ESP are for my use only. I will not speak of them or in any way give others knowledge of them outside ESP. Part of the condition of being accepted into ESP is to keep all its information confidential. If I violate this, I am breaking a promise and breaching my contract, but more importantly, I am compromising my inner honesty and integrity.
ESP is in what? Extrasensory perception?
It's actually called, I'll get to it.
Okay, it doesn't stand for extrasensory perception.
No, I have it written down in my document, but I have to go back. Executive Success Programs.
Okay.
Is what it stands for.
Okay.
And I'll get to what those executive success programs were. True success is never at the expense of others. As a successful individual, I will never envy another's success. I will rejoice because I realize the success of others raises me up just a little bit more because I am also part of the human team.
The word success is starting to sound weird. Like, you know, when you say it too many times.
I was going to say, how many times can you say success? I know. When you read it, you're like, wow, this is crap. Also, who wrote this?
Do you notice how, like, things like this and, like, statements made by organizations like this, like, say a lot, but at the same time, they're saying nothing? Because it's just like they're repeating the same
I was gonna say,
over and over.
It's just repetitive.
Yeah.
How many times can I say I want to be successful, and in how many different ways?
Yeah. How many ways can I say I'm going to be successful by not taking advantage of the people around me?
I'm not going to be a thief, and I won't
Stealing
tell
is
anyone
bad.
about ESP. The actualization of human potential by anyone is a tribute to all team humankind. If others are
What does that even... Read that again?
The actualization of human potential by anyone is a tribute to all team humankind.
So realizing that somebody has potential is giving something back to the human race? Like, is that what... That doesn't mean anything.
Like you said, he's saying so much, but he's not saying anything at all.
Anything.
Yeah. If others are successful, I will protect their success against those who envy them. I pledge to purge myself of all parasite and envy-based habits and replace them with the habits of effort and interdependence. I will unreservedly accept the success I have earned. I will accept no more and no less. This is accepting with integrity. I will give unreservedly to those who have earned it. This is giving with integrity. Unreservedly is also going to start sounding weird. I will accept with integrity as easily as I give with integrity. To not accept with what I am worth or what I have earned is to devalue myself and thereby all others. Jessica's falling asleep. She's like,
I'm bored. He's not saying anything.
Yes, he is, Jess. He said success, unreservedly, and integrity like a billion times.
Okay, I'm paying attention. I promise.
Good. We only have 2 more left. We can do this. It's like 2 paragraphs because apparently there's lots to say. People control the money, wealth, and resources of the world. It is essential for the survival of humankind for those things.
People control... Read that again.
Okay. People control the money, wealth, and resources of the world.
Who else would? If not people, then whom?
Bears.
Cats?
I bet cats want to. One day they might take over the world, Jess. Okay?
I mean, I will join that cult.
It is essential for the survival of humankind for these things to be controlled by successful, ethical people. I pledge to ethically control as much of the money, wealth, and resources of this world as possible within my success plan. I will always support the ethical control of these things.
Ethical no longer makes any sense.
Add that to the list. A world of successful people will be a better world indeed. A world devoid of hunger, theft, dishonesty, envy, and insecurity. People will no longer try to destroy each other, steal from each other, down each other, or rejoice at another's demise. Success, ethics, and integrity are co-inspirational. I pledge to share and enroll people in ESP and its mission for myself and to help make the world a better place to live. Are you going to join?
No.
Do any of those words make you want to join?
I glazed over most of it. No, just kidding.
You're like, you said a lot of words and I wasn't listening to any of them. Okay, well, here we go. Just gets weirder. Nancy was a former psychiatric nurse and Keith had previous involvement with an MLN called Consumers Byline. It was found to be a pyramid scheme that brought in around $33 million a year. And in 1993, a lawsuit was filed against Raniere accusing Consumers Byline of being a pyramid scheme, and Keith settled for $40,000 but wouldn't admit to any wrongdoing. So there's multiple documentaries about this, which I used for this, as well as some other sources. So there's The Vow on HBO, and then there's Seduced, I think, on Stars. And in that, basically, it shows like he created this company. It was this company where buyers would try and find better prices for consumers, and that's the whole thing, which I'm like, how do you make money out of that back then? But whatever. And apparently it got to a point where like he wasn't paying his employees. So then the lawsuit came up against him. Like, I know there are companies now that can make money from that, like on the internet and stuff, but like they were making phone calls because it was back in the day. How?
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah, there's like those automated programs like, what is it, Honey?
Yes.
That does that, where you download Honey and it's like, oh, we found a coupon or whatever, which, yeah, that makes sense because it's an automated service. It's not somebody calling around to like every department store and being like, do you have this for cheaper?
I'm like, how does that make you money though? They're going to pay you the difference? Then they're not saving any money.
Then they're not doing it, yeah.
It's so confusing. Anyway, this was not Keith's first run-in with the law, however. In 1984, when he was 24 years old, Keith sexually abused a 15-year-old girl named Gina Melita. The two had met in a theater group. Eventually, their relationship, and I put that in quotes, ended, and she had introduced her friend Gina Hutchinson, who was also 15. He then began to sexually abuse her. Hutchinson's sister Heidi would eventually discover the abuse when she found Keith climbing in her window. When confronted, Keith said Gina was a Buddhist goddess, and that's a quote, who was supposed to be with him. Gina would drop out of school and continue her relationship with Keith and even work at Consumers Byline until she was found deceased from a gunshot wound to her head and a supposed suicide in front of like a Buddhist temple. In the documentary I watched, like, he didn't get in trouble with the law with that, but I think they did talk to him about it because she committed suicide. Supposedly he took her virginity, which she was 15, so probably, and it led to a lot of mental health issues, and she killed herself. In 1994, he attempted another MLM company selling vitamins, and that business also failed in 1999. And then Nxivm began in 1998 as a self-help MLM that offered classes and what they call intensives, which are multiple days of classes for self-improvement and executive success programs, ESP. Each incentive would cost up to $7,500. So they would pay for a couple days and they would pay $7,500 to go to these courses. Yeah. Sure. Raniere would say that Nxivm...
I'm in the wrong line of work.
Yeah, we need to start a taco cult and just like charge for taco classes or something. I don't know. Raniere would say that Nxivm's, and this is a quote, main emphasis is to have people experience more joy in their lives.
By spending thousands of dollars.
Yeah, sure. To have some weirdo, which I'm going to show you a picture of him. I think he just looks like someone who, like, I don't understand how he got all these people to follow him and, like, basically worship him. But he just looks like,
I mean, it just
like a normal guy who like maybe needs a haircut. I don't know.
Good old Norm L-man.
Okay, they literally offered classes on things like the science of joy. And ESP was, and this is a quote, a methodology for optimizing and enhancing human experience and behavior. The program also focused on the members overcoming what they would call limited beliefs. So basically, any insecurity or uncomfortable thought you had was a limiting belief that the person needed to overcome. And the vow, the way that Sarah Edmondson, she comes forward later, she's a previous member, explained it. She was on a cruise with Mike Vicente, and he was part of this cult, and that's how she got involved. But she was like coughing, and he said, "What do you lose if you stop coughing?" And tried to like make it sound like her being sick was her trying to get attention. And she like obviously believed this shit and ate it up because she joined after that. But then they were like, literally everything that was like quote unquote wrong or that they just didn't like, it was like a limiting belief. Like if someone was like, "Oh, I can't get anyone to join," they'd be like, "That's a limiting belief." Or, "Oh, this is like really weird. I don't know if I feel comfortable with this." That's a limiting belief.
Sure.
Yeah.
Any answer that's not what they want.
Exactly. The MLM part of the program is that you had to recruit others and continue to pay for self-improvement classes. You would level up. You would also have to continue, obviously, to buy classes and spend more and more money. And as you leveled up, you would receive different colored scarves that represented your level in the program. They called this the stripe path. Yeah, scarves. Like silk scarves that they wore.
I thought you said scars. And I was like, huh?
Some of the classes offered had titles such as Best People, Perfect World, The Heroic Struggle, Relationship Sourcing, and apparently on one of the articles I read, the relationship sourcing one was like about how you could benefit if your spouse died. I don't know if that's true or not because, you know, the web can say whatever it wants, but I was like, I hope that's not true.
Sourcing?
Yeah.
Ugh, people are so bizarre. Why would you read this and be like, this sounds like an excellent, this is exactly what I need in my life?
Another thing is like in the vow, I have to tell you all this because I tried to just stick to kind of the facts that I could read and sources and stuff. But I want to tell you that in the vow, Sarah says, "I went to my first intensive and I was like, what the fuck?" Like, she was like, "This is weird shit. This is not normal." She goes to the intensive. She pays all this money, right? $7,500. She goes. It's at like rundown Holiday Inn. There's like 5 other people. It's like Mark talking, or not even Mark, maybe someone else. And then it's like videos. videos from the 1980s, basically, is how she describes it. And like, it's like Nancy Solzman, and she has like pads on her shoulders. Like, that's how old it is. And she's just like smiling weirdly, and she's like telling them how to live their life, basically. There's one where she's all, do you ever feel like a whack-a-mole? And like goes through like all this stuff about how life just keeps hitting you down.
Do you ever feel like a plastic bag floating through the wind, wanting to start again?
Basically, it's like weird stuff like that they're paying $7,500 to go to.
Jeez.
Yeah. As you moved up in the organization, you could do the ESPs. Like, you could be ESP certified. It's kind of like Scientology. Like, how much do you know about Scientology?
I mean, it sounds like any of those level-based pyramid scammy things.
Yes. And basically, you have to pay so much and do so much before you can get to that level. But there were
and
also...
then when you get to that level, you still have to pay.
Yes, in order to be in there. Yeah. There were also these ESPs where you did what they called viscera, where someone would teach you how to stretch your emotion by turning on and off happiness quickly. So basically, there's this creepy recording in the valve, and it would be somebody who's like, it's like a meditation session where you're like, picture your perfect happy place. You're so happy, like calm. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, you're angry. And it's like, and you feel all this pain, and it's so crazy. And then they're like, now go back to being happy. It's insane. And people would do it. And then they would say, like, we can turn on and off our feelings, which is not healthy, I don't think.
No, that's not.
It's like, you're in the happiest place ever. Now you're dying. Like, basically like that. Like, in a scary voice. I can't even say it because I'm laughing too hard. It's just like you said, people are so weird. Like, who listened to that and was like, yeah, man, this is some good stuff. Like,
yeah, shut up and take my money.
Members also had to sign a non-disclosure agreement, and this was supposedly so that no one else could use the cult's teaching methods. But I think it was just so they couldn't go tell everyone how fucking crazy.
And people could talk them out of it. Like, please, what you're in is a cult, my guy.
During the program, students would call Keith Vanguard and Nancy Prefect. Because, you know, every person who starts a cult needs, like, a lame name. Yeah. Members were told that Keith was the smartest man alive. They were told, and these are the things that they would tell them. He was one of the top 3 problem solvers in the world, and he had one of the highest IQs in the world. And he learned French, German, and English before he even started reading. He went to college at 16, and he had triple majors of math, biology, and computer science, and he was a concert double pianist. There's lots of things there.
Was there any proof of any of this?
Well, they also made claims that he was an elite athlete who won judo and track tournaments. And his claims were even published in a Times Union profile about Keith in 1998. The Post reported he had a membership to the Mega Society because of a Mega test he had taken unsupervised, which is the IQ test he took. But again, it's unsupervised.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in 1999, an edition of the Guinness Book of World Records, the Australia version, published that Keith, along with 2 other people, were listed as the highest scoring members of the group, and that's where the top 3 problem solvers came from. Within Nxivm were different groups such as The Source, which was to help with public speaking. So Nxivm was like its own little group, and it had all the ESPs and stuff that you did. And then there was like little branches that you could go off and take classes like that you were interested in. And one of them was called The Source, and that was to help with public speaking. One of them was called Jeunesse, which was just for women, and it focused on empowering women and changing the world. And then there was the Society of Protectors, which was for men. And then Rainbow Culture Garden, which was a daycare that taught multiple different languages. And I was like, it had a daycare and he literally was like a child rapist. That's fucking terrifying. But whatever.
But look at all of the amazing things that he is in this self-proclaimed, like, he's an athlete and also a pianist, and also he has 3 majors and went to college at 16. My question is, it doesn't matter how smart you are, when do you have time to do all
That's what
this?
I was thinking. Nobody has that much time.
No, just because you're super smart doesn't mean you can make more hours in the day.
I mean, he does some weird shit. Like, I'm gonna get to it. He, like, doesn't sleep, or at least he doesn't sleep at night. And I'm like, okay, as I'm going through this and I'm watching the show and I'm doing research, I'm like, that didn't tell you that, like, hey, this probably isn't a good idea. Oh, there's another red flag. Like, how many fucking red flags do you need before you're like, oh yeah, I should probably leave? In 2003, a Forbes article was published about him, and he continued to claim he was the world's most intelligent man, and now he was saying he was also the most ethical, which I'm like, okay, how do you measure that, though?
Yeah.
Yeah. There were members of Nxivm that were super close, and they all lived within the same area. Keith made those who lived in the area go to volleyball practice in the middle of the night.
Why?
And there's videos of these sessions. I think it was, and from all the research I've done, it's like to keep them sleep deprived. They all had like very strict schedules that they had to follow. Like this one girl named Bonnie, she would say like, I would wake up at 5 o'clock, then I'd go teach yoga, then I'd do this, then I'd do these ESPs, then I'd do this, then I'd do that, then I'd have to go to volleyball practice, then I'd get like an hour of sleep. And it was to keep them sleep deprived because they're easier to brainwash if they don't have sleep, right? On top of that, it was like they didn't have time to eat, and he kind of was like strict about what they ate and stuff too. So they're not eating, they're not sleeping, which makes them more vulnerable to him influencing them. So there's videos of the sessions that they would play on the vow, and they're literally, it was like for hours. So they would practice for a while, and then they would all sit around and like ask Keith stupid questions. Like this one video, Mark is like basically like, Keith, what causes aging? And he's all, they don't know what causes aging. And I'm like, time. Aging causes aging. Yeah. And like I was watching it, and it's just like some of the conversations they were having, I was like, I'm sorry. It was literally like the 12 tier thingy that we read. It was literally, he was just talking to talk.
They're called pillars.
Okay. 12 pillars of this batshit crazy cult, right? That's literally how it was. He would answer questions and he would just like talk. It was like he liked hearing himself talk. And I'm
sure he did. Yeah.
Yeah. So there were a variety of different members, and some of the members were celebrities, and he liked it when people would bring celebrities in.
Of course.
Because he wanted his company to be well known. Yes.
Yeah.
And to bring more people in. So I'm going to list some of them. You may or may not know them.
The best thing that ever happened to Scientology is Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I would not join. No, thank you. No, thank you. Allison Mack from Smallville. Anthony Ames from The Abduction of Zach Butterfield.
I now know what you're talking about. There you go. Okay.
Because of the name Allison Mack?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Bonnie P.C., I don't know if that's how you say it, from Star Wars Episode 2 and 3. Callum Blue from Smallville. Catherine Oxenberg from Dynasty and her daughter India. Chad Krawchuk from Wayward Pines. These are just the people that they listed. Kristen Kruk from Smallville. Grace Park from Hawaii Five-0. And like Nikki Klein from Battlestar Galactica. And there was a couple of Battlestar Galactica people who came in and out. And then Mark Vicente, who was the filmmaker of What the Bleep Do We Know? And then others, including the Seagram's Liquor heirs Claire and Sarah Bronfman. According to Vanity Fair, the two lost more than $100 million investing in the company. In that Vanity Fair article, it was titled The Heiresses and the Cult, and it was published in 2010, and it talked about their involvement in Nxivm and how their father wanted to save them from the cult, basically. So they had joined the cult, and then they started investing. Like, they met Keith, and then they started investing in it. And then they brought their dad in, and he took a class or two. And at first he was like, oh, this is good. So the first, I'm not going to lie, the first time I watched The Vow, the first episode, it was like they started off just showing the classes they offered, not giving their names or saying anything, but just like success classes and about how to be happy. And I was all, this doesn't seem too bad. Like, okay, I could see going to a self-improvement class. Everyone wants to improve themselves. And then the more I got into it, the more I was like, oh no, this is real bad, right? And that's kind of how the dad felt. So he had like lots of questions about what they were actually doing, and he was worried about his daughter's well-being, which is understandable. In 2012, 14 years after it was founded, cult experts were already calling Nxivm a cult, starting with an article published in the Times-Union. In the article, experts alleged there was a group of women who served Raniere by paying all of his bills and supporting him, as well as sexually serving the vanguard. So he lived with a group of women, and a lot of the women that he would bring in had money, or he would get them to invest their money. So basically he was living off of these women. And then he was also having sexual affairs with these women, even though he was telling all of his followers that he was celibate and that he wasn't involved with women. Cult tracker Rick Ross told the paper that Nxivm was, this is a quote, one of the most extreme groups I've ever dealt with in the sense of how tightly wound it is around the leader, Keith Raniere. So everyone was pretty devoted to him. 5 years later, in October of 2017, another article was published about Raniere, again alleging that the group is a cult and that Raniere used it to get women to sexually serve him. They went one step further, however, by offering proof that not only were the women serving Raniere sexually and financially, but he had started a group within Nxivm called Dominus Obsequious Sororium, DOS, which loosely translate from Latin to Lord over the obedient female companions.
Gross.
And the women in the group had been branded on their hip area with his initials. So on their, pubic area, basically. The brand had been presented to represent the 4 elements, but when turned in different directions, actually says KR and AM for Keith Raniere and Allison Mack. And I'm going to show you a picture, because there's pictures everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
How does that line up with his pillars?
I don't think it has anything to do with the pillars.
But Brittany, what about those 12 pillars that you read?
They're real important when you're branding someone. So this is what it looks like. It's on its side. But when you turn it and you look at it, you can see the KR and then AM. Do you see that?
Yeah.
They presented it as being the 4 elements, though, so that it was... I don't know why you would get that branded either, but to each their own. The secret group was created in 2015, and an estimated 150 women were members of the secret organization. Keith originally recruited 8 members, which included Allison Mack, Nikki Klein, and Lauren Salzman, who is the daughter of Nancy Salzman. They were told that the organization was women only and that it was formed to empower women and eradicate weaknesses, because the Nxivm organization had taught its members that weakness was common in women.
Okay.
Yep. Within this secret group were sort of mini groups, all led by a master. I'm putting it in quotes because these are what they say. So I'm not saying this. This is what they called it. And under each master were slaves. That's what they called them. The slaves had to ask permission to do anything, including eating, as losing weight and barely eating seems to have been yet another requirement within the secret sex cult.
Wow.
The women were instructed to seek out other slaves to join the organization. So basically, they were recruiting people to recruit people. So do you have any comments so far? Because I think this is where I'm going to stop part 1, and we're just going to ask Jess for her thoughts so far.
I just, I mean...
Do you have so many questions?
I just don't understand how people think that stuff like this is a good idea. It's one thing, like you said, right? Take a few classes and be like, oh, this, I could take something away from this. And then the more you get into it, the more you're like, all right, this seems less and less legit and more a little sketchy. But then there are people that don't feel that way and they keep going. And then you have these poor women that get into this subsection of this MLN inside of an MLN, which is actually a sex cult. And it's just and then they're still supposed to recruit others into this at that point, from my perspective, at that point, those women have been brainwashed, period, right?
Yes.
They're fine with it because they think that's fine. They've been told that that's fine and that's what they should do in life.
Yes.
To go and then to bring somebody else into it, it just... I don't know. People are so susceptible to...
Well, especially, right, those vulnerable people who literally just are looking for a place to fit in. I think he sought out people who were vulnerable, who didn't have a lot of self-esteem, who maybe didn't feel good about their looks too, right? Because they're making them lose weight and stuff. And he knew he could get to them that way. And then the less they eat, the less they sleep, the more vulnerable they get, the easier they are to control.
And
Yeah. And it's not even so this isn't even the first, like I said, the first of many red flags, right? There should have been a ton of... Why am I going to play volleyball at midnight? Okay, I need sleep. How am I supposed to have another job? These people within his inner group didn't have other jobs. This was their job. They lived off of that money and they made lots of money. And I don't understand how. I don't understand where. I don't understand all the things. But then again, maybe it was just him using money from the Seagram sisters.
Tiers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then paying them off or whatever. There was also other red flags. So this supposed group, but it's secret. And if you join it, if you're part of this group, you cannot tell anyone about it. Not even people within Nxivm. So it's this big secret group. is supposed to empower women, right? Well, that's what Jeunesse was for.
Right.
So why is there another group? And you can talk about Jeunesse, but you can't talk about this one.
Yeah. Well, they have to get to that point of like going through the process of being manipulated, of being brainwashed, to being that susceptible that like they think that that's good for them. And what they've done is they like under the pretense of building women up and like, oh, we want to change the world. And then ultimately what you're doing is reducing women back down to their bodies and the fact that women are only good for sexual favor.
Yep.
That's not empowering women.
Nope.
That's
it's like
the exact opposite.
Tearing them down and yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Also kind of bizarre to me. Like if I was in a situation in which I was like, I'm very interested in taking self-help classes. Like I want to get a different point of view on things so I can like be happier. And that's fine. That's great. And then you go out and like the premise is a great premise. We're going to teach you how to make your own success and how to find happiness in your day to day and stuff like that is great. To me, I'd be like, why am I shoveling out all this money to learn to be happy? Like it kind of seems counterproductive to be like,
especially when people are going into debt for it.
Exactly. It's like they should be teaching you this. You would think that the founder of this, you know, he's built himself up to be this like paragon of humanity and that he's this happy person that has all the answers. Well, if that were true, wouldn't he want to just give out? Wouldn't he just want people to be happy and just give out this information?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be something that'd be like, you're only allowed to be happy if you give me money, is basically his premise.
Yep. And if you continue to bring people in who will give me money.
Right.
So those are both red flags, but also I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Society of Protectors that they created. So it was supposed to be for men, and it was supposed to be all about how men are supposed to protect women and all this other weird shit, right? Well, they decided to bring the Jeunesse and the Society of Protectors together, basically. And during the session, it was like, again, tearing women down. The men were allowed to say whatever bothered them about the women. And if a woman bothered a man, they had to do penance, which was like something they just made up, like, oh, give me your chair, or like just ridiculous things that they had to do, or say, I won't be annoying, or, you know, all these things. And it would preach basically about how women are naggy and that's why men hate them and all this other stuff. And then there's video of Keith speaking at these Society of Protector meetings about how basically he's encouraging men to rape women. Like he's saying when he gets angry, he just wants to fuck things. And he should be able to fuck whatever he wants. That's like his words, basically. And so they're like, oh yeah, we want to protect women. But you're sitting there saying like, women are basically here to serve me. I can take whatever I want from them. And because I'm angry, I can quote unquote fuck them, even if they don't want it.
This guy obviously has like really deep-seated issues with women, and like how he thinks of women, given like his criminal history, is solid proof of that.
Yeah.
It's just, I learned something recently. It's really interesting. So I was watching a stream and they were talking about how they know trans people who are taking tea, and the trans person said that once they started taking tea, they kind of understood the like constant like sexual need that some guys get. It just comes with, I guess, taking testosterone. Which is news to me, right? Like I didn't know. That's not ever anything, but the fact that these people that are transitioning genders and have this urge,
strong sexual urge, yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time they were saying that so this person started to feel these changes, but then also at the same time realized that they did not have to act on it.
Yeah, because
like
logical people know that.
Yeah, it's like you have this, you want to go out and fuck something, right? Like, God, I'm so angry, I just need to fuck something. But you don't. Like, you do not have to buy a fleshlight. Like, I don't know. Like
we discussed last time?
Yeah.
Don't rape people.
But, like, you can be angry, horny, and not make it anybody else's problem.
Yes.
That's just also, your problem.
I don't understand people like that. So, like you said, there are probably plenty of people, like you said, who are like, yeah, I feel a strong sexual urge to fuck something.
Yeah.
But I don't have to do it.
But it's not anybody else's problem.
I'm a good person, so
yeah.
I'm gonna go home and take care of myself.
Yeah, right?
Or I'm gonna be nice to my wife or girlfriend and get sex that way. Like, yeah. Anyway, it just made me so angry. I was sitting there watching it, And I was like, the first time I watched it, I felt bad for these people who left the group, right? I felt bad because I was like, oh, that sucks. Like, it must suck to be that miserable in your life that you're susceptible to this group.
Yeah.
But there was so many things that happened that they should have been like, no, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Starting with the way they were treating women. Oh, we're going to empower you, but we're really not. We're going to tell you you're naggy bitches and men are superior to you and you should do whatever we want. And guess what? We can fuck you whenever we want to. No.
Yeah. Hey, do you think anytime in the future people will just stop? I'm tired. Do you think people ever just stop being stupid?
I don't think that there's any hope for that.
All right.
Cults will live on, apparently.
It's not even that either. It's the whole, like, to whittle a woman down just to, you're literally just a vagina.
Yep.
It's not even what you look like. It's just your vagina. It's like, just fucking stop. Like, can we stop? Can we please stop?
I think I broke Jess today. I made her very angry.
I'm so angry.
She's covering her face with her hoodie, everybody. She's out.
Okay. Stop, everyone. Stop.
I agree. 100% I agree. I'm going to let you get all of your anger out because I was very angry too. I was watching it again because I was like, I'm going to do this story because it's just so insane. And we haven't covered a cult yet.
Yeah.
And I was watching it and I was like, what the actual fuck? What made these people think that this was okay? She's got less to say, everybody.
I hate it so much. None of it makes any sense. Having biases for a certain gender, like feeling some way about a certain gender, regardless of what that gender is, right? Like, is so tired. Like, it's 2023. Like, can we not whittle people down to their gender?
I agree with you.
Can we not whittle people down to any one aspect of them?
I am with you. Also, there are things that I feel like I never thought I'd have to say, but we have to keep saying it. Is like, one is divorce is better than murder. And the second one on our list would be don't rape people. It's like literally.
Yeah, don't make your horniness other
get
people's
divorced.
problem.
Don't murder your spouse. Second, don't rape people. Learn how to masturbate. Okay? It's healthy. Rape is not healthy.
Thank you for listening. Additional information for each case can be found on our website, truthliesandalibis.buzzsprout.com. New episodes will be uploaded every Monday. Find us on Facebook and Instagram at Truth Lies and Alibis.